Hello and welcome back to ID Boxing with me, your host, Rob Tebber. As always, just like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, we are back with a nice mood-lit set today. We've got the blue lights for Barry Jones and Andy Clark. How are you, Barry? Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice one, right? Nice to be back after fucking 3 weeks. What's happening? You've been up with fucking Blade. The vampire slayer, haven't you? What's his name?
Castillo. Everybody check out Castillo in the main event. Still up there.
Playing with your mate, like.
I have an actual, like I say, a real job of working boxing, but I have a job that is side by side, runs parallel to doing.
Let's not go into the details about commitments and promises that were made. And all of a sudden, like, we wouldn't hear from you.
We missed 1 week, but anyway, Barry's not bitter about it at all.
Running around with Buffy's boyfriend and all that. Like he won't beat me up, will he?
No, I don't think so. He's getting into shape though. He's almost.
Oh, is he?
He's almost a super featherweight. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm good. I watched Castillo sit down with Vidal Riley. I enjoyed it actually.
Yeah,
thought it was good.
You need to get Barry some gold teeth. They're real gold teeth.
Grills.
Well. They're not grills. They're real gold teeth.
They're not real teeth though, are they? They're gold teeth.
Okay, they're real gold teeth.
No, he doesn't grow gold teeth.
No wonder you're
Imagine that. He wouldn't need to work for ID Boxing if he could just pull your teeth out.
Yeah, that'd be decent. But yeah,
he's like a walking beanstalk. Unbelievable.
But I'm glad you enjoyed it, Andy. We are running slightly behind us. We always are when we're on this set, which is always why I'm looking a little bit flustered. But anyway, let's go back to this past weekend. Andy, going to come to you first. You were there at Wembley Arena for Adam Azim, going not the distance for the first time. He obviously went the distance in his debut against Ed Harrison, but doing 10 rounds for the first time against Santos Reyes. Just your thoughts on his performance?
I thought he boxed well. Yeah, I thought he boxed really well. Inevitably, when the streak comes to an end, you'll have idiots who will jump on it and hold it up as evidence that he's not that good. But it's what they wanted. They wanted somebody who could stand up to him. And it looked like he might not be able to when he put him down in the second round. Cuffed him pretty high on the head, on the forehead, and he looked scrambled at that point. But he managed to get through the round, and he was very, very tough. He had decent kind of basics, covered up well enough. His guard was pretty high, so he got dug to the body a lot, but he wore those very, very well. I was expecting them to have an impact on him as we went down the stretch, and it didn't really happen. And I just don't think Azim really put a foot wrong. He got caught by a few left hands, but again, that's kind of good in a way because it identifies something that you need to maybe shore up a little bit. I think Shane said at the end that in the second round he did something they weren't quite sure to his right hand, which they weren't holding up as any kind of an excuse for anything because I think they were perfectly happy with it, and I think they were right to be happy with it.
Yeah, and he still was throwing the right, as always is the case in boxing. I think initially when it was discussed, I think Ben Shalom or somebody said it was the 7th round, then it was the 4th round, then it was the 2nd round.
Yeah,
by next week it'd been carrying it into the ring.
The thing is though, there's no excuse needs to be made.
No, exactly.
He boxed fantastically well.
Yeah,
for a young man, forget it. Let's go back to his age, but he's only a kid, and 10 rounds is difficult for anyone. For a young kid, your first time round. Because you're just not sure. You train really hard, but you've never done it, so you're never quite sure how you're going to react. It's not like saying 6 rounds, because with a 6-round fight, you can almost see the end pretty quickly. Yeah. Listen, I've been at distance all my whole career, so I'm better than me to talk about it. I mean, in a 10-round fight, you don't see the finishing line for a while. It seems like forever, and all of a sudden, so when you get that round 7, you're like, oh. It's almost half the fight still to go. You know what I mean? It's a panic. Like if you're not used to it, he boxed really well. He didn't get him out of there. There's loads of things he could have done differently. He did try and pot shot a little bit too much. He could have up and down the tempo. There's little things like that. But that's what you want. You want him to do a longer distance, so you get to see a broader vision of what he does well and what he doesn't do so well. Because all we've seen so far is him blast people out there, look really good, and go, but what's going to be like when this happens?
Yeah.
What's going to be like when he doesn't knock him over? Well, we've just seen it. He uses his jab. He uses his footwork. He still keeps the distance really well. And I'll box the guy he took a few punches, which is nothing wrong with that. In boxing, the people get criticised now for taking a punch in a fight. When someone's trying to punch you, it's like it's almost impossible not to. You name me a fighter who hasn't taken a punch. Can't, can you? Adam Azim up until Saturday, maybe. But I thought it was really good. Good.
You mentioned there just briefly about some of the things that he maybe could have done a little bit better. You mentioned the pot shot. And I think that was one of the things that kind of came from it, is that it was all single shots, big kind of lead uppercuts and stuff. What else do you think he could have done a bit better?
I just think sometimes you just know you can just change, because you got fast hands. I usually say people sometimes speed your work up and then slow down, but with him maybe a little bit different. Just change the tempo in your shot. 'Cause once you get if you get used to power or used to the shots, you can tension and you're aware of it. You get used to that pace or the weight of the shot. So when you mix it up, it's usually when you're accelerating some of your shots, you use power, but it's fast, they don't see it, and then you whack them hard, and things. It's a difference like that, and just make different angles around the body, just little things, but they make a big difference for wearing a guy down who's really tough.
Yeah, I thought that was. What you're saying there, I thought that was one thing that I picked up on about halfway through.
God for that, 'cause I didn't have a clue.
Was that after a couple of rounds, I remember looking at Reyes and just thinking, it would have been at the end of the second when he was put down, but also maybe a round later, he had the look of a man who was thinking to himself, God, this is hard work. And then after about 5 or 6, he started smiling a little bit, and I suggested to Matt Macklin and George Groves, who were either side of me, that is this one of those situations where you taste it and you think, but then you get used to it and then you think, actually, this is not so bad.
Everyone's got a tell. Not everyone, but most people have a tell in it before they mount an attack. If you can see that, especially when you're playing defensively minded, like he had to in the end, then once you see that tell, you're there. So you're almost like, I know what to do now. Every time he does this, I just cover up and just take the shots. Just take it. Like, it hurt and all that, but I'm not offering my chin. When you don't see the tell, that's when the surprise gets you, and that's where he's been getting them, because he jumps in with his attacks, you don't see it. But maybe there was something there that kid saw. Every time he was on the mount of attacks, like some people sometimes just like drop the right hand, so they're going to throw a left hook. Anything like that, drop the shoulder dips just for the jab. A lot of people throw the jab from the chest, so you just see their hand move a little bit. And like if you're just being all like uber defensive, as soon as someone does that, you just can take a step back or cover up. And so then you have to absorb the shot, but you don't take it clean on the chin. And so the little things like that, just the difference. So if he sees that, then even though it hurts, he can brace himself in it and be able to. That's a huge difference when you can just brace yourself to take a shot. Like, it might be a heavier shot that might put you down. I say that all the time. It's not always the harder shot that puts you down. So when you don't see or just you can't read it.
Well, he got put down, didn't he? Because he was coming forward himself. He opened out himself.
It's a mad shot. It was just like just on the head, wasn't it? That's
happened a lot with Azim though. Of the kind of stoppages he's had, he hasn't hit anyone that clean yet. Which is kind of
to the top of the head.
Yeah,
like Ryland Charles,
plenty of them.
Kind of,
there's been
because
plenty
the way
of them.
that he boxes is always heavy over the front foot, and he sort of like rolls underneath. You could see that coming.
Yeah.
But and it was a strange one really, because I feel like Reyes he got buzzed and the legs went and then he went back. And it's almost like going down kind of saved him. I felt like if he'd have gone back into the ropes, I feel like Adam Azim would have had a free shot on him. You could see
he just kind of let himself go down, didn't he?
Yeah.
He looked like he was. That's a bit of. I think he's not wildly experienced, but that's maybe a little bit of experience where he was unsteady and he just went down. And then by the time he got back to his feet and they'd done the count and all the rest of it, he kind of looked all right. There was about a minute left in the round. There was quite a long time to go, and he got through it without any particular problem. But he's a tough guy. His corner was really near ours, and he's got one of these heads that just doesn't really mark up, doesn't really swell up, because it should have done, given what landed on him.
Took a hammer. I think, but it was perfect for him. For his development, it's great. But it was a good display as well. I think it looked bad. The problem you got, when you put on a pedestal, like I've certainly put him up there. And people expect more from you than anything but a knockout now, and he's going to get criticised, which apparently he has. I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen that much of it, but I've just kind of read that he has been.
That's what people have been saying, but I don't know if that's been the case. But I thought, it's the 10 rounds you need for your development. But that's us saying, everyone says that. Really, if you had the fighter, you wanted to knock everyone out forever.
If he could have got the stoppage in the 9th or 10th round or something, then you'd look at it as probably the perfect learning experience.
Matt and George were saying that. Maybe the hand played a part in this not happening.
And George, no, it's not even like.
But they were saying
last names anymore.
They were saying basically that a second wave of attack was maybe what he needed.
That's what George said afterwards. Yeah. And just, I think what you said there about varying the tempo of his work would have probably been helpful as well. I do feel like he was headhunting a little bit. I think the middle rounds he neglected the body just a little bit. He was throwing that sort of stab jab in the early rounds to the body, which was really good. But I feel like overall, I mean, it's always the way. On the way in, he's Adam Azim, the future of British boxing. He goes 10 rounds, and all of a sudden I put a tweet out, which is quite similar with Dalton Smith. When Dalton Smith went the distance and beat Casey Benjamin, he was a good fighter.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's overrated, and Adam Azim would do this. And then you could see people sort of the first 3 or 4 rounds on Twitter. It's, Adam Azim, look, he's brilliant. He's knocked him down. He's unbelievable. And then it's, Adam Azim, he's overhyped. They need to slow things down. But I think overall it was a very good exercise and maybe a little bit of kind of, I don't want to say sort of grounding or a reality check. I feel that sounds a bit too harsh, but just knowing that you're not going to knock everybody out straight away and there's people who are going to get up and give you the rounds is probably just what you needed right now.
It's nice for him as well because he always had people at the minute, me included, just, kissing his backside, how brilliant he is. And now, maybe for the first time since he turned pro, he's not going to get that, which he should still be getting, I think. And you understand, like I was saying, he should have been busy. I think he could be throwing more punches, put wrong combinations. But he's used to hitting people and jumping on the floor. Not jumping on the floor. He knocks them on the floor. Yeah. He's used to hitting people with one shot, and he's looking for the reaction. He's hitting them and going, that's the one. No. Okay, I'll do it again then, because obviously the guy doesn't know what he's on about. And then throw it again, hit them again, and go, that's the one. So you can understand why, that's what he's used to. Now, you realise now, listen, not everyone I'm going to hit is going to look for a way out or is going to not know where they are or people can recover. So it's a fantastic fight for him. It was a good night for him. Good night. Like if I was in the corner, like I think he was, Shane, I'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
God, that's perfect. He dealt with it really well. No, he learned stuff, and also I got things now when we go back in the gym and we get on do some video analysis. I guess they do, like everyone does now. I would presume you can point things out. That was brilliant, but.
Yeah, and that's the first time they'll be able to do that.
Yeah. All this lifting his chin up that he does quite often didn't matter because he's so long for his weight. You get away with it, and I've always said this: you only really see him struggle. Those things be evident when he moves up in weight, which he will because he's a young man. He's going to grow because then he loses the advantages of height and reach.
Yeah.
But great night for him. I don't like anyone who criticises him is a fucking idiot.
Before we move on, where next, Andy, for Adam Azim? Spoke to Shane Wigan afterwards. He mentioned Mohammed Mamoun, somebody of that sort of ilk for his next fight, which I think would still be a good step up as somebody who's boxed at a very good level over the years.
I'd not heard him mentioned before, but thinking about it, that really would be a step up because he's a good mover, smart fighter, skillful fighter. We've seen enough of him to know that. He's 3 or 4 years on from when I last saw him, which was against Tyrone McKenna.
Yeah, he got robbed.
But we've been people like Anthony Yiggett have been mentioned. Ray Beltran I've heard thrown out there. I think he's keen to keep going and just get the bigger fights or biggest fights that he can get. They were thinking about the European title, but I don't think that's going to work out because the guy who's got it, Enoch Poulsen, has got a fight at the end of March, a rematch with a French guy called Frank Petitjean. And then the EBU have already named the mandatory after that. Whether they enforce it immediately or not, I don't know. But timeline-wise, maybe that won't quite work. But, Mamoun, I like that. I do like that. That's quite bold. Depending on where Mamoun is now, I haven't seen him recently, so I don't really know. But I was a fan when I saw him. When I saw him against Allington, when I saw him against McKenna, he really is a good fighter.
I'm not sure, Barry, you'll be able to tell us more about this. Obviously, as the fight went on and Adam Azim was wearing those little grants, it wasn't kind of a surprise to hear about hands afterwards. It was in the dressing room afterwards, and his hands did look swollen. I know they were trying to get him out at some point early March, but do you think that probably puts pay to that? I mean, all the talk of the hand injuries and going 10 rounds against someone with a granite
depends how bad it is. I think, if there's no fracture, then he'd be fine, I think, but yeah. The thing is, the way he commits to every shot, you can understand why his hands are hurt. Because you don't actually, as hard as he hits, he just wings it. So he is hitting heads quite often. He is discombobulating all his opponents because he's hitting one right here. But that's not nice to hit. he swings me. Kazai used to have to Kazai him in.
There we go.
He'd have to say because he would sort of like people say he'd slap, but he'd flick him over. He'd flick the shots over. But that means he wasn't hitting it often. He was quite often hitting here and there.
He had hand problems from amateurs, didn't he?
Oh yeah, like all his life pretty much. But I think that's going to be a problem for his career. But I think punchers just have to deal with that. It's hot. You get things done for it. You can look after it. I think how you look after it in the gym is more important. Because come fight night, you got to go throw it, haven't you? Unabandoned, you got to throw it. Like I don't care, or you cannot. But I think it'll be fine. But where he goes next, I would still keep the same. For me, I keep going. I was saying like with him, his development. I know he's young, but I'd just be really organic with it. And if he passes that test, go up in 2 tests. I kept saying that, and I still say I know. I think that shows a lot to me. That he can fight, he can still dictate the pace because his power slows you down. He still quelled that guy's ambition because he hurt him really early. Like I say that all the time, don't I? When you got power, let someone feel it. Why wouldn't you not let someone feel it as early as you can? Let them know. You make a mistake, this is what happens.
And you can dictate from
that. Makes them overthink their work. It slows them down then. It takes away their strengths. And he did that, to be fair. And then bossed the fight. And it was a decent pace and he controlled it fine and he looked fit and so I don't see why anyone would complain about that. And I would still reach high. No. I know I'm not a world title or nothing like that. I'm not going crazy, but like British level and if you get a European title, I would sort of maybe gamble out for that.
I think early March is unlikely now because
moved to 25th.
Yeah, I think Shane's got Robbie Davis on the zone on the 11th.
On the 11th.
And as far as I know, Boxer don't have any plans to go on the 4th or the 18th, and then Ramadan starts on the 22nd, I think, this year. So that's him out until that's finished, or a few weeks at least after that's finished.
You could sort of see, and as it kind of went on as well, I'm not sure whether or not he'd be able to box anyway. But let's try and skate through. I'm going to touch on some little bits from the undercard. The Bet365, shout out Bet365, wild card fight of the night, Zach Chelli versus Anthony Sims. I've been told not junior by Mr. Andy Scott. Big up Andy Scott as well, bigging everyone up, apart from Barry Jones. But anyway, what did you make of Zach Chelli versus Anthony Sims? I think everybody looked at that fight and kind of like, you sort of plucked 2 people from, we know both of them. You still would never have really thought to match them together, and nobody really had any clue of what to expect on the night, Andy.
Yeah, it was. I think Alciesta put that one together. It's a bit like Jack Cullen fighting Pacheco, isn't it? You know, those are 2.
Or Yildirim as well.
That's it. Fights you didn't really see coming. I had more optimism for Chelli than most people seem to. Basically because I've spent quite a lot of time with Sims when he was last here, and I really like him, but I've always wondered, and this sounds harsh, whether when it really came down to it, he was going to quite have it in the locker. We know he's got the skills, and we know he's got the technique, and he had a good amateur background and went to the Kronk and the Mayweathers and all that kind of thing, but the defeat against Angulo did ring some alarm bells for me because he just kind of drifted and almost let it happen, went the distance and lost on points. And the same thing happened on Saturday. He couldn't really shift gears when he needed to, when Chelli just put it on him and won the fight. And there wasn't seemingly much he could do about it. So it was a massive win for Zach Chelli, though. I'm not trying to take anything away from him at all. And I like him and his old man. The energy they bring to fight week, it's intense, but it is very intense. They're an intense duo, but he takes these fights, all his career. We were talking earlier, Umar Sadiq early on, his one defeat. Cody Davis, when he stepped up to light heavyweight, did well in that fight, but lost in the end. Never lost at super middleweight. Cullen, Kilgallen, he's up for it. He's very, very game. And we were saying as well, I do think it's a good thing that the Lerone Richards fight didn't happen because Lerone Richards, I think would be too much for him, kind of boxing wise. But I was pleased for him. And you could see at the end, Sims it's a bad defeat. That I imagine what he'll do now is go down to middleweight, say, well, middleweight's really my weight, but that will be his last chance then.
Barry. impressed with Zach Chelli or disappointed with Anthony Sims, or a bit of both?
I think a bit of both. I think Sims is, we found out maybe in the Angulo fight, but certainly cemented in this fight, is a guy who can only fight his own pace. He's only comfortable when he's dictating it. When he's not, he doesn't want to do anything. So there's my trainer used to say to me, my last trainer, Ronnie Rush, better to win ugly than to lose pretty. And that's exactly what he needs in his makeup. He wants to look smart and clever, and he might be that, but just doesn't throw any punches. No, and he's a puncher, but he's not a devastating puncher. So but I think he's waiting for that perfect shot, and it's just that wasn't coming, and he got outworked by a guy who like I like Chelli. I've seen him since he was like 14, boxing as an amateur, and he throws loads of punches. He's always been an exciting guy who commits to everything he does. There's a massive gap with Chelli. He's a tag. Like I said, the reason why we thought Lerone Richards would beat him, because there's a big gap right down the middle there. You can almost, all you'll do is throw the shot and you'll hit him. He goes low with his jab, to be fair. When he throws the jab, he tries to get nice and low and throw it up. So he's not as simple as that. But I mean, when he decides to throw, he commits, squares himself up. So there's loads of chances for you to hit him with. And look at Sims. He looks nice and neat, and he sort of almost leans back a little bit on the back foot. That's perfect to make Chelli overreach. But you got to throw the shot. When he throws his shot, you got to throw yours. He just didn't do anything.
Kind of had that spell, didn't he, in the 8th round where he looked like he had.
Yeah. But again, that's a mental frailty, because that's like the injection you need, the kick up the backside you need from yourself to go, oh, there you go, look at that. So you look, in any sport, psychologically, a little bit of momentum, like you get a bit of success. And all of a sudden, you go from being deflated and almost like accepting the loss to going, boom, I'm back in. I'm in the game now. And that was his push on. I think there's a mental frailty to him, to be fair. He's a lovely guy, a lovely boxer. He's fantastic in the press conferences. He was the coolest guy in the room, wasn't he? Everywhere. To be fair. But, disappointed from him. But I thought Chelli was going to get totally outboxed, to be fair. I really did. And, he's worth his money, Chelli. If any fighter gives 110%, it's him.
Yeah, you're going to get every time
he's fully committed to everything he does. He makes loads of mistakes, and I think there's a ceiling to how far he goes, because you can't make mistakes at that weight as you go up in the levels.
Yeah. Eventually, somebody will find the gaps and you'll make it.
Yeah, and he'll get hurt. Yeah. But he's a fun fighter to watch. And you've got to, and listen, and that's a great fight for him. On the platform it was against a guy who maybe they were touted in as, I don't know what they were touting him at, but they were touting some kid. That was the one they were pushing. He's really the away corner, if you will, I would guess. So yeah, that's a real boost to his career. Okay,
right. Final one from this past weekend before we move on. Caroline Dubois extended her unbeaten record, Andy, with a 3rd round stoppage win. Difficult. I feel like we always seem to have these conversations around female boxing because of the lack of depth in there, but you can only beat what is in front of you, and she did that in pretty one-sided, ruthless fashion.
Yeah, she did. She was frustrated afterwards, and it was written all over her face when the referee stopped the fight, because I spoke to her afterwards briefly, and she felt that the opponent didn't really fancy it right from the off, and she's probably right. And that's the problem they've got. They had somebody else lined up who they felt was better, who then pulled out quite late on. And they're just going to have to make that leap with her, because as we know in female boxing, there isn't the depth that there is in the men's. There just isn't. So I said to Shane afterwards, what are we looking at now? Kind of former Katie Taylor opponents. I'm thinking people like Miriam Gutierrez, who took her the distance, Firuza Sharapova. Fighters like that who've gone 10 rounds with Taylor, not really caused her any problems, but are tough. And if they've still got some ambition, still kind of proud, who would maybe fancy it with Caroline Dubois, because it would be on a big stage. It'd be decent money, you'd imagine. But I think that's what they're going to have to do, because talking about a world title by the end of next year, that kind of depends on Katie Taylor vacating all their titles or getting beaten by Serrano or something happening there, and it not being the case that one person has got them all, because that's what they're going to have to wait for. That situation has got to change before they can get that world title opportunity. It's tricky because she does look really good, and she did brilliantly well as an amateur, but because of the lack of depth, you just got no real way of knowing what would happen if next up she box Taylor. You know, if that.
The thing is, she can't wait around. How can she wait?
No, that's it. You can't wait.
You can wait, you just don't fight. There's no fight. That's the problem.
Or you do fight and you stagnate
fight
and
way,
go backwards.
way below your level.
Yeah.
And there's no maritime fights because some of the boxers are dreadful. Like,
Yeah.
Happy Dowdy, what was his name?
Yeah.
I did one of her fights in Dubai, and it was like, you never boxed in your life.
Well, this is the thing. This is the reality. This is the reality, and people are kind of. You get to a point where people are afraid to say it, but you're just telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The depth isn't there. It's just a fact.
And she hits hard as well. You can see.
Yeah.
What she does, she looks different. You see some like novice fighters, and more so in the women's game, unfortunately, just the way it is. But not a lot of novice fighters, and who just and they haven't got the shape of them. It's just the way they just hold their hands.
Yeah.
That doesn't look right to me.
Yeah, no, she's different, isn't
She has a presence in there. There's a real threat. About her.
She looks the part, doesn't she? And she takes her time. I think she's good to watch. I think
right-handed southpaw.
And there you go. And she's a good fighter as well. And I think she will be. She'll be a world champion. I'm pretty odds on for that. But yeah,
I wonder whether she might catch Taylor at the back end.
Well,
that could be a fight.
It'd be interesting to see politically how that fight could ever be made.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the
That's
problems,
a
isn't
difficult
it?
fight to make politically. Anyway, before we move on, Rey Vargas versus Usyk Foster. They competed for the vacant WBC super featherweight title this past weekend. Andy, going to come to you first. A really, really impressive performance from Usyk Foster against, somebody who's been a two-weight world champion, who still is a two-weight world champion in Rey Vargas, and an excellent performance from Foster.
Yeah, it was, and I was pleased for him because I met him last March. I did his eliminator against Makhamaduja Yakubov, and he's got a good story. He was a good amateur.
Who?
I went to him first.
Makhamaduja Yakubov. Makhamaduja Yakubov. How many times?
Come on, Barry.
Jabuvov.
There we go, Jabuvov. Anyway, Andy.
And he's got a good story. He was an alternate for the US team in London 2012, and I know that US team in 2012 was mad because I know only Spence of the men got to the quarterfinals, no one medalled. But you look at the names and what they've gone on to do as pros. I mean, that was a really strong side. Brazil, Herring, Ramirez, Rorschach, Warren, Terrell Gorshey, particular lads like that. It was mad, really, that they couldn't get anything done at that Olympics. And things were going fine, and then he got a step up onto a Showtime card that he was supposed to win. Bit of a showcase. He lost. Things fell apart a bit. He was in the wilderness. He went to prison for a spell. Came out. Decided, right, it's now or never. Moved away from home over to Houston. Teamed up with Bobby Benson, who had Regis Prograis, still does. And everything's gone from there. And he just boxed really, really well. Vargas is really good. I mean, we've seen that, but we were saying just before we came on air, what he did brilliantly was he just used his feet incredibly well to stay out of range and tuck up behind that shoulder, and just made Vargas fall short constantly. Took his height and his reach away. Controlled the distance, controlled the fight, and it was a really good performance.
Sort of a new dawn at super featherweight now. Shakur Stevenson has left the building, so to speak. Navarrete come up there and looked less than convincing in his last fight a couple of weeks back. But a new sheriff in town at 130, Barry. Not you, Usyk Foster.
Joe Cordina.
There we go.
He's next, isn't he? So he won't be Cordina. You weirdos.
That would be a good fight, wouldn't it?
That would be a good fight.
Actually, I don't think it would be a good fight. I mean, an interesting fight. I don't think it would be a good fight to watch for the layman, I guess. But I think he's good. He used that shoulder roll as good as anyone since Mayweather. I'm not saying he boxes like Mayweather. He's not the next Mayweather. I'm not saying that, but he uses so well. And again, about using the footwork, he takes one big step and then two little steps. He takes that big step once to make you overreach. But someone like Vargas, because he's always dying, because he's a good fighter and he's a busy fighter when he can be, but he's always had, because he's so big as a super bantamweight and a feather, and he's still so big for a super feather, by the way. He probably hasn't got the physical strength, but he got the length and the reach, and he throw, but he'll know he can hit you again with the next one because he'll take that big step with his first jab. But then there's two little steps that Foster would do, just put him in no man's land every time. And then also when you turn that shoulder, it takes your chin further away as well from the target. So you almost don't have to lean on the back foot. But when you do lean on the back foot as well and turn that shoulder, the target's disappeared. And that's what Mayweather did so well. But to do that, it's quite simple, really. Well, you just a little more slide on, You drop your left hand, encourage the shot, and then just turn the shoulder to block the shot. Take a step back. It's easy, but it's not. It very rarely works.
He made it look so easy, didn't he?
It-
That was what, when you watched it, it was just like, particularly when you watch kind of like a replay or a bit of slow motion, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
It
What
was,
he does,
it was,
you got really fast hands and fast feet,
yeah.
but doesn't rush it. And I think that's maturity. That is because when you have fast hands and fast feet, like, and I know this because I did it all the time. You think, oh, I'm fast, so this goes fast. You think you're fast. You don't have to go fast. You are fast. So don't try and get any faster than you are. Just because you go so fast. Like I used to throw feints, but they were so fast they didn't work. I didn't see it. I was just wasting energy. I feint and like it never happened. But if you slow down a bit, you only find out with a bit of experience, a bit of age. Like, you know, they say still things are wasted on the youth, aren't they? But like, and that he just knew he doesn't rush anything. So he knows he got fast hands and feet, and he got good vision. So he don't rush anything. So he just takes a little big step and then two little steps, turns the shoulder, and then fires back. Boom! Just sets you up. He gives himself an open target. To be fair to Vargas, he fought back a little bit, like
Came into it in the second half.
A little bit rounds, a little bit. But you're playing catch up against a guy who can make you miss. It's always going to be hard. So it might not have been as like, I don't know whether it was wide. I think it was only one winner.
Yeah, I had it pretty wide. I had it 117, 111 for Foster. I thought he won the first half of the fight quite clearly. Then the middle rounds, Vargas started to come back, and then I felt Foster really closed strong.
Yeah.
Won those last 3 rounds really clearly. And I also felt like
7, 8, 9 brought Vargas back into
a
it. And
little
if it
bit.
continued that way, it would have got
You can't
tight.
fight against a guy who got great feet.
and also naturally the bigger man. I know Vargas has got the big frame
but
and
the
stuff, but
strength,
that's a real 130 pounder. And it's kind of one of my thoughts going into it. So I do like Rey Vargas, and I feel like we spoke to him in Acapulco, who was over there, and we said, like, you know, you're not the conventional Mexican. You're a boxer, an outside fighter, and you're not like the seek and destroy, left hook to the body merchant. Do you feel that you're kind of underrated because of it? And I've always kind of liked him because he is that, and he's not your stereotypical Mexican fighter. But I felt like he beat Magsayo because Magsayo just gives you loads of opportunities. He's got real natural power, but he loads up with everything, and he's always going to look bad against a pure boxer, a natural boxer. But going up to 130, I didn't feel like Foster would be reckless. And also felt, obviously, Magsayo dropped Vargas heavy, and I feel like Foster landed a counter right hand early in the fight, and Vargas was just like, oh, yeah,
I remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, and I felt like that was always going to be
over the
important.
top, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was always going to be important to make Vargas feel that you're at 130 now, and you're not against somebody like Magsayo's going to flatter you. I mean, he almost flattened him in the fight at featherweight. So just wonder whether or not Vargas, if he can still make featherweight, if he goes back down to featherweight, because I don't feel like, we've spoke about it all the time, we spoke about Adam Azim earlier, not having those same physical advantages.
But he still has them. He's not. He just haven't got the physical strength.
To back that up.
If he stays super featherweight, he can still win the world title. I just think, you know, you just got a guy there who just got a great judgment of distance and vision. That he just knew where the right. He just once Vargas threw the jab in the right hand, Foster just got that natural ability. It's all natural. No, that he just knew exactly where the right distance was to make him miss.
Yeah.
You almost can't teach that.
Yeah.
Just know you know roughly where you are. Just knew exactly where I gotta be.
It was like watching like a computer game almost, or someone with a force field around them. Like as soon as something came close, it's just he was always just right on the end.
And
of
that's
it.
what I mean by that, lads. You know, some fighters it
is great to watch.
Some fighters almost give you the chin and can slip and slide with their punch go over their head, but most of them, they just do it and they're almost teasing you, especially when they drop their left hand, teasing you to throw the shot because they know they got the. If they almost get it wrong, they got the fast feet to get themselves massively out of distance, and if they get it right, then they make you miss by an inch every time.
I think
really good performance.
What you said about the maturity, I thought that was the most impressive part of it, and like whether or not he'd kind of consciously saved a little bit for down the stretch or not, but knowing to close strong, and you know, you never know. You got Rey Vargas, who's, you know, established Mexican fighter fighting in Texas. You never know what the cards are going to be like anywhere, but certainly in that part of the world. And I thought he rubber stamped it really well. So it was a very good performance, very mature.
Against a really good defensive fighter that he is. If you're chasing the fight,
you're just playing into his hands.
Yeah, it's really difficult for you. Really difficult.
Okay, that is enough from this past weekend. Let's talk about what we've got coming up this weekend in Nottingham. Leigh Wood dances with the devil against Mauricio Lara.
I love that title.
It's nice, isn't it? I like
really
quite a lot of the branding.
Except there'll be no dancing.
There definitely won't be any comments in with this one. Barry, going to come to you first. A hard fight for Leigh Wood, sure. Not an unwinnable fight by any stretch of the imagination, but one that I think we'd all be very surprised if it's anything other than action from the first bell.
Is it a mandatory?
No.
Is it voluntary?
Yeah.
No, it's madness, isn't it? Like, why would you have him? Like, I wonder if he said Leigh Wood which probably wouldn't shock me because he's like absolutely mental, and just went, all right, Dad. Yeah, well, we're gonna have a show in Nottingham, mate. Now in February. I know I'm gonna fight. I know I want to fight. Oh, brilliant! Do that fella, the one that Wallington fought, Lara, and then he's gone. Who do you want to fight? No, I want to box Lara. Lara's never come over this country ever again, mate. Ever. Never. That's what Eddie Hearn must be saying. He'd never come over here ever again.
Well, I don't know. He's one of Canelo's guys, isn't he?
We're not having him. Like, why would you want him? Why would you risk that? Because he's just a horrible fighter. He loops his punches so they're hard to sort of defend against, and he commits to every shot. He can bang. It's just like he has a decent engine. Why would you want to fight him? But Wood just lives up in just a maniac, isn't he? But like you said, it's a winnable fight because Wood can punch, and he's shown again something that you just have that you don't have it, and that's that inherent toughness. That real, just like even when you're dead, you don't know where you are. He's that fight. He is like a little frotch, isn't he? In many ways, that he can be all over the shop, and still find the strength and the energy to let his hands go punch. And you can. So when you're in danger, in trouble, almost everyone's first reaction is to look after yourself, and this is not. This is like the only way I'm gonna get out of this hole I'm in is just to swing and just keep throwing until you don't exist anymore, and that's how he does it. And I think that's where he sort of gets caught, in my mind, to be honest. But I think, the people see Lara, some people going, oh, he's just gonna wipe the floor with Wood. Lara can be hurt. Mm. He saw his two fights. He had two fights since the second Warrington fight, and the first one back, he went in there full of arrogance and made so many mistakes and got hurt. Not in the head and body got hurt, by the way. He got wobbled. He got hurt with a body shot.
It looks like he punched himself out a little bit as well.
Yeah, well, he swung like a lunatic. He thought he was going to wipe the guy out there, didn't he? And he really did in the end. But so there's a gap there. If he thinks he can just walk through Leigh Wood, then that might be good for Wood. But I've also seen with Lara that he can carry that power late into a fight, and that's a worry for Wood. Because as much as we know how tough Leigh Wood is, we've also seen him get hurt by people who are not big punchers.
Conlan, Reese Mould.
Yeah, and he might see him a different animal now to the Reese Mould, but still, Conlan, really good boxing technique, and punches you don't see can hurt you and all that sort of stuff. But Conlan can punch his weight, but he's not a puncher. And Lara is most definitely a massive puncher. And I know Wood is supposed to be a huge puncher as well, and he is. But you tend to think that Lara's shown it probably more than Wood has.
One of the things that I often get told over the years, speaking to fighters and trainers, is one of, if not the most difficult style to box is somebody who's awkward and can punch, and he fits both of those bills, doesn't he?
But he's also clever. I mean, he doesn't show it as often as he can because the power is what he trades on. So say that first fight back after the second Warrington fight, he didn't show any cleverness there. He just went like a lunatic. And he's going to knock you out. But the when he boxed that fella, Sam
Martin,
yeah, like he was like moving around the target. He was bobbing and weaving, close in distance, and staying nice and low. And that'll be a problem for someone like Leigh Wood. That will. If he gets on Leigh Wood and rolls his shoulders, because you see when Conlan moved off the line, how many problems that caused Leigh Wood. So Leigh Wood, if you're in front of Leigh Wood, like Kanzu was, by the way, what a brilliant performance that was from Leigh Wood. But Leigh Wood will kind of box you and he can hurt you. But I mean, I got a feeling if you can do that semicircle around his body, then I think he's going to struggle.
Andy, surprised that we're seeing Wood versus Lara?
I'm not really, because I agree that it doesn't logically maybe make all that much sense at first glance, but just with the kind of character that he is and given what's happened to him in recent years, I'm not actually that surprised. I think when you look at the matchup, for all the reasons that Barry's just given, if you're logical and rational about it and break it down technically, then you would make Lara the favourite. But I do think with Wood there are some kind of intangibles at play here, which number one made it more likely he was going to do it, and that secondly I think give him a real chance and maybe level that playing field a bit. One, it's not exactly an intangible, but home advantage. That arena will be absolutely bursting, and it's a thing. I mean, one of my favourite ever nights, and it will take some beating, was being there for Bute Froch. I wasn't there for Leigh's fight against Michael Conlan, but I'm told it was exactly the same. You know, just unbelievable atmosphere.
They back their own in Nottingham for sure.
Unbelievable atmosphere. And also, I just think...
I wasn't there for that. We were in Dubai together.
Yeah, because Leigh, he was
We
in...
weren't working.
He was in... Yeah, because he came out, Leigh Wood, didn't he? He came out... We saw him there that week. We were there the week after.
Yeah,
we were there the
2
week
weeks,
after.
yeah.
We were there the week
Cully
after.
in Dubai, me and Andy. That we love it.
But also... but also...
So I've got to say, your wife's everywhere.
I know,
That's
yeah,
a bad thing
yeah.
to say. Can I rephrase that? Your wife's not everywhere.
On billboards, not those kinds
She's
of
like,
billboards.
yeah. I'm walking the dog the other day. She's there like that. Like,
They are all
she's like
over
the
the
poster
place.
woman from that West.
They're all over the place. It's absolutely, it's amazing.
Give
it's
her a
really
plug.
amazing.
Give her a plug, Andy. Go on.
Lococo, which camera is it? That
All of them. Tell all the cameras.
Lococo chocolate. Go to @Lococo lococochocolate.com. Buy some expensive chocolate because you deserve it.
There you go.
There you go.
They're the official chocolate partners of the ID Boxing podcast.
Yeah. I'll have to bring some in next time.
Next. Actually, that's a really good point.
Let's move away from the chocolate. Come on, let's get.
Never mind that. But the other thing I was going to say about Wood basically
First
is
time I've
that
said that in a while.
I think I just think he's in a. I don't know him, but I think he's in his life, if you like, and given what's happened in boxing in the last few years, I think he's in an amazing place.
Yeah.
I think his mind is very clear. I think his confidence is high. And I think he's got that kind of swagger of a man who never probably thought this would happen to him. Not because he didn't believe in himself, but just because it didn't look like it would. You know, he lost to Jazza Dickens in the Golden Contract. Good fighter.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago. Beat Reece Mold for a British title, but had a couple of problems in that fight. And then look at what's happened since. He made big money against Michael Conlan. And I think we were discussing it before that the Lara fight would be probably by a distance the biggest purse he could now command for his next fight. And I think he's thinking, listen, no one thought I could beat Kanju. I did that. Everybody made Conlan the favourite, even though it was in Nottingham. And yeah, I was up against it and I was losing, but I pulled it out of the bag. I did that. You're not telling me that I can't beat him. That's what he's thinking.
And he'd be right, to be fair.
Yeah.
Although I gotta say, I'm picking Lara. I usually don't really care who wins. But I'd like to see Wood win. Because he's one of those kids you've never seen him ever win a world title.
Yeah,
That's the
totally.
truth of it. You say, also, he's a good fighter, and he won a British title. I'm pretty sure he will. But he was always in a hard weight. People like Jazza Dickens, he had to get past. People like that. So you thought, well, actually, they're fighters he's probably never going to get beyond, unfortunately for him. But he did. And to pick up a world title was fantastic. To beat Michael Conlan, it's just a great win. The Kanzu, I think, give him a chance in that.
Yeah,
So,
terrific win.
And he was a genuine world champion when he won. I know it was the regular,
He was,
not the
yeah.
super.
Yeah, he
but
was.
the other guy, Santa Cruz, hadn't been a featherweight since I was boxing.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
That's what it was like, wasn't it, really? And Kanzu was always like, when Kanzu was going to box Josh Warrington,
Yeah.
he was the real champion then for us all, and then everyone changed their minds on it. It was a great win. And also, he didn't just get the stoppage, you boxed him as well. It wasn't just like they wasn't just got him out there. He boxed him. He did everything right. He was just
And
that was his best performance.
It was.
His best win's going to be Conlan because of what happened, and that's a great story. And that's going to be they can just run that all day, can you? For promoting his career, but that Kanzu win was fantastic, tactically, technically perfect.
And I like the attitude as well of you come off a massive win against Conlan, which what was that? That was a voluntary, was it?
Yeah.
That was a voluntary. And you don't think to yourself, I can have a nice homecoming now. You think, right, okay, who's next? What's the biggest money I can get next? Who's out there? What's the biggest purse? This is prize fighting.
Yes.
I'm not going to do this forever. Rather than kind of like maybe it'd take him 2 or 3 fights against other people to make what he'll make against Lara. But, of course, he thinks he's going to win. He's not thinking, brilliant, I'll cash out. He's thinking, biggest purse. Because whoever's got it, whoever brings it, I can beat them. And then I'll do it again. Make hay while the sun is shining. It's what it's about.
But you'd also think as well that he could have picked someone easier and then that Warrington fight might be a big fight. You think there's a business set. There might have been an easier route to highlight the Warrington fight. Yeah. Warrington lost, and didn't get lost his last fight against, what was it, Ruiz, whatever his name was, but Lopez, and but it's still a huge fight.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because of the audience, the fans they bring, and just so you think maybe why wouldn't you just do that? Because Lara's just been shown to be a nightmare, and not just and since the Warrington fights, he's still blasting people out there and getting plenty of exposure. But confidence, you mentioned confidence. Confidence is a funny thing because it doesn't make you a better fighter.
Momentum as well.
But it doesn't, and that doesn't make you a better fighter. But what confidence does is give you conviction, because when you are confident, you'll commit to your work because you're so confident that things when you're confident, like punches. I have to throw that shot.
Yeah,
I'll nail you to the canvas. I know I can do it.
Yeah,
and it very rarely happens, but I mean, they'll do that. Or when you're confident that you have boxing skills, I can dance a merry tune on this fella.
Yeah,
go in there, not worrying about he's the biggest puncher on the planet.
Totally,
you're going to believe in yourself, and that mental thing. Boxing, people always say, "No, boxing is like 90% mental." I don't believe that too much, but it's a huge thing. It makes you sharper when you're confident because you just believe everything you do. You believe it's going to work.
Yeah, I saw that in one of the fights we had at the weekend. I know we moved on from that, but Tyler Denny against Brad Pauls. I've seen Brad Pauls quite a bit. Yeah. He just lacked a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And he didn't fight the way he normally does. And if he had, maybe he would have got picked apart, but he just didn't do what he normally does. And he'll see it when he watches the tape back, and he'll say to himself, next time I'm back at that level, and I think he will be, I'm not going to make that mistake. I've got to do what I'm good at. You're right,
though, because that works on Tyler Denny's side, where the confidence he has that he knows that if I put my foot on a pedal, you can't live with me. You can't live with my energy. And he knows it, Tyler Denny, because
he's that experience.
He's proved that. This is what I do now. I just make you work hard, and you can work, and you make mistakes, and I'll just keep throwing.
That's it. I love it from Leigh Wood, because it's kind of like, all right, this guy's a big puncher, so what? Big deal. So am I. He's also a dangerous guy. Ooh, and so am I.
It goes with that Nottingham theme, doesn't it? Because Froch was very similar.
Yeah.
Though wouldn't shy away from anybody, so it seemed, and tough as nails. And Wood maybe hasn't got the same strength of chin as a Froch, but he's built the same sort of attitude.
Before we hear from Leigh Wood,
where is he?
Caught up with him recently for Bet365. Big up Bet365. I'm going to come to you, Barry. Mentioned the Michael Conlan fight there. One of the things that I have kind of been rolling around my head about that fight.
We'll save that for your Bet365 thing.
I will, but is how hard a fight that was for the first 6 or 7 rounds. He was badly hurt in that first round. When I caught up with him, he said, I felt like it was a flash knockdown. Even at the time, he said, I got up and I thought, just get him tight. But it was a real heavy knockdown.
He was on autopilot for half the fight. Didn't know where he was.
How damaging could that fight be for him coming back into this fight? I mean, he's not a young man anymore. He's, I think, 34 now, 34, 35. Took a lot of hammer in that fight against Michael Conlan. Admittedly, not a puncher, but still punches his weight.
I would say, the training would have gone great, they'd be full of confidence, but you don't know
until you get in there.
Yeah, and Lara does start fast, but if Lara should jump right on him, I think Wood should jump on Lara, by the way, as well. I do think it's that sort of fight, not just for us. Please just jump on each other. But but I think if Lara jumps on him and hits him early, then you don't know if there's mental scars from the last one. Then you might go, oh, I've been here before. I didn't like it.
But also on the flip side of it, he's been there before and he's worked his way through it.
He knows he can work through it, But he's in with a different puncher.
Yeah.
Not nowhere near a better boxer. So Lara could give it if he can weather the storm, if he gets hurt and weather the storm, then he can think, I can pick up more rounds than I did against Conlan. But he picked up a few rounds against Conlan. Let's not forget that. It wasn't all, Conlan was winning the fight massively on my cap. But it wasn't all his own way. But I still tend to think that, with Lara, he could outbox him as well at stages. Because Wood can box a bit. He got a good jab.
It was mentioned about the Kanzu fight. He was very good in that fight.
Perfect,
jab to the body.
And I think Ben Davison was good for him then, actually, that fight. Because, Ben gets his supporters and his critics, of course, for the way but I think he's more of a thinking sort of trainer. So, though he's got a puncher here, but I think he kept him calm in that fight and kept him sticking to a plan. So he always used his jab and always checked himself, made sure he was safe before he threw. And I think that'll be important for him in this fight, being safe. but being effective. I still think he still has to put it on Lara early as well. But he has to do it very, very... I talk about my back end here. Very, very cautiously, be massively aggressive.
No, you know what you mean, though. Yeah, you have to go there. But I think
It's one of those, like I tell kids, like when I every now and again I go down to my local gym very rarely, and I always say, I said to Stu tonight about keeping kids, when one hand's up, one hand should be touching your face. Just when you learn how to box, so you're always there, so you know. So even when you're attacking, you're as safe as you can possibly be all the time. And I think that sort of thing we would. If one hand's not touching your face when you're throwing, then you're at risk of getting knocked out. There's short, it lessens the odds there, because the guy got to come over here or through the middle, but you're safe as you could possibly be when you're trying to be aggressive. I think that's important for him. You got to keep his shape's important when he is going for it. Because Lara, and also with Wood, he puts his, I'm trying to think of it now. His right hand's here, not here. No, protecting, that's good. But I mean, for someone like Lara who loops his punches, that punch will get over the top, and that's a worry. Because Conlan's shot was around like that. That went around.
That was a beautiful shot.
That went around the guard. But
he just kept landing it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, but and Lara doesn't throw the same as Conlan, but he does loop his shots, and so it's similar enough that might go around the guard, and that's what worries me about this fight for him. That those shots in particular, those looping shots. I think straight down the middle, he'd be able to, because he's there, sort of parry it and block it or cover up. But I think those looping shots, I think he struggles with them. But also, when the guy throws a looping shot, there's a gap in the middle. If you can be confident enough to step in, which he is, I think, and throw a short left hook or right uppercut, or step in and commit with a straight right hand, there's a gap in the middle right for you. There's a box there for you. Well, rectangular box. There's a rectangular shape there right in the middle from head to belly button for you to aim for when the guy throws the looping shot. But against a big punch like Lara, that's a real risk. But Wood loves to take a gamble. Otherwise, he wouldn't have took this bloody fight, would he? That's the truth of it.
He certainly does. And enough about talking about the man himself. Let's hear from Leigh Wood, who I caught up with for Bet365 recently.
Yeah, he's definitely a threat. He is dangerous if you let him do what he's good at. Without giving too much away, I always say this, but I don't want to tell you what I want to do and what he does well and go into it. But from hindsight, you're looking out, from outside looking in, you know, the Zukam fight, the similar kind of thing, you know, I got tweets, Lee's going to get his head used as a speedball, and all these kind of things, you know, and we even rocked up to fight camp and people was like, thanks for coming, like, we're going to win. And they're like, oh, it's a hard fight, but you can't see how we operate, you can't see what we do. Same with the Conlan fight, you know, it was like, how are you going to beat the most skillful fighter that Ireland's probably ever had? And there's always a way to win, you know. You've got to believe in yourself, believe in your team, and more importantly as well, believe in the game plan and how to do it, and be confident in going out and doing it. And I am. And I know what I need to do to beat Mauricio Lara, and I'm going to go do it.
Okay, well, Leigh, before I let you go, now I know there's been a bit of back and forth. I'm not sure what your Spanish is like, and I'm not sure what Mauricio Lara's English is like, but disregarding that, I want you to look into that camera there, and I want you to tell Mauricio Lara what to expect when he arrives in Nottingham for February the 18th.
He already knows, you know. He's talked a lot, now it's time to fight, and I hope he's ready. And I've said it before, you know, I hope he's better than he's ever been, because I'm coming, and I'm coming to knock him out.
So that was Leigh Wood in very confident mood, as you would be on the back of, you know, fight of the year or knockout of the year or both last year against Michael Conlan. Andy, going to come to you.
Fight, knockout, come back.
It really was. So why would you not be, as we've kind of talked about there, you know, on cloud nine and you know, looking to kind of ride the train, so to speak, and keep the momentum going? But yeah, a really hard fight. Andy, come to you first. Do you think we see Leigh Wood from the Kanzu fight in this fight? Do you think we'll see the jab to the body, the try and neutralise him? Or do you think, as you know, I certainly do, that we're going to see two guys meet in the middle of the ring and have a good old-fashioned Nottingham tear-up?
Yeah, I think that's more likely. I think that's kind of more what he'll want. And I think that does favour him more. Not out of the two of them, I think that's the best way for him to go about it. But I'm aware that, of course, that Lara will be licking his lips at the prospect of that. So they're both probably going to do, or rather Wood's probably going to do what Lara wants him to do, but Wood will back himself to be able to do it better. And I just think any number of things could happen. Like Barry said, you know, the Conlan fight should have put miles on a fighter's clock because it was hard. And maybe it has, and it could get caught early because anyone can get caught early. But I've just got a feeling he might do it. I don't make him. I would probably still make him a slight underdog, but I've just got a feeling he might give us another really, really good Nottingham night, and I really hope he does. He's a great story because
he is a good story.
He was drifting and going absolutely nowhere. He couldn't get a fight. He was hoping for an English title fight. This is like 6-7 years ago. I did him on a deep on the Channel 5 undercard, and he was so frustrated. And then all of a sudden things just turned around for him, and it's been great to see. It's been really great to see.
See, I think he was going nowhere. I understand what you're saying. I mean, he was going to finish his career. I think we'd all sort of agree at a really good level. Maybe he picks up a British title, no Commonwealth title, which things like that, and that's really good. But you didn't see where he is now, did you?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think he did either. That's the beauty of it.
So he's a proper success story. That's what boxing for me is all about, isn't it? Not always about the guys who they drag from the GB squad and end up being superstars. It's like some guy here is a normal kid who's just like box because he can box. I can punch a bit. I'm not a bad boxer.
He said himself. He said he was in the gym. Like even when he didn't have fights going, he was in the gym pretty much 3 years every day. Still waiting for that opportunity, and he said he believed in his mind even after the Jazza Dickens fight that he would still eventually win the British title, win a world title. He wants obviously to defend at the City Ground. Who knows whether or not that Warrington fight could be one of those, but it's kind of what you said, like you take each step as it comes and be appreciative of the steps as they've come, and I think Leigh Wood's a really good example of that.
Yeah, he is, yeah. And now he's just like maybe taking this fight like you've already alluded to, is that I'm just taking whatever's the biggest purse, I'm taking that fight. I don't care.
Yeah, well, you don't know. I mean, I know.
And also, at this level, every fight's hard. So
Yeah.
That's
the thing.
Do I want to be outboxed, or do I want to be knocked out? That's it. If he the Conlan fight again, maybe get outboxed this time, or do I take the Lara fight and just get knocked out? But I don't even know where he is. He's right in
Think
front
about
of me.
the Mauricio Lara fight. Is just if he wins and he knocks out Mauricio Lara, and
Imagine.
considering what Mauricio Lara did to Josh Warrington in the first fight in particular, and obviously the second fight was a bit of anticlimactic, but still. Then look where that puts him in the division.
Yeah.
It really does put him up there. He said something quite funny. He was at the Nottingham Forest Leeds match, and he was down there with Josh Warrington. They were doing a bit of photo ops and stuff. And he said that I went over to him and I said to him, "Listen, mate, let me sort out this Mexican mess that you've made, and then we'll have a fight." Which is just what you want to hear, It's and that's a fight. I mean, you alluded to it earlier, Barry. That I think boxing, as we all know, is a very interesting sport, and I think one or two people, when the original date was called off, kind of looked at that Warrington fight and thought, yeah, he'd probably leave the Lara fight alone and maybe do that big sort of Nottingham versus Leeds rivalry, Wood versus Warrington. It's always going to do good business, but he said himself that he was not best pleased at the suggestion from people, from Mauricio Lara in particular, that he was ducking, he was pulling out, that they wanted to see medical this and medical that. He said, he was the only name that I ever discussed and never thought about fighting anybody else. As soon as my arm was healed, I was straight back in the ring. And that's kind of, from his perspective, given things a little bit of edge, like Mauricio Lara talking about, you're faking injury, I'm going to come over there and knock out another English fighter. You can, like Leigh Wood, who's usually a very kind of laid back kind of customer. He's got a bit of edge to him about that. I really like that.
No, I love that. I love that. How dare you shit talk us? That's when he's saying, look at what we've done. What have you done? Yeah. That's what he's saying to him, basically, isn't he? We've had this down the years, when...
He knocked out Josh Warrington, didn't he? Away from home. That's what he did.
Yeah. But if you're Leigh Wood...
things, when you add up the pair of them, how dare you question our
everybody said, people said that Leigh Wood couldn't do this, Leigh Wood couldn't do that. So as you mentioned earlier, he's going to be thinking, they said I couldn't do, I'll knock this guy out. You said the Sanchez fight that you had after the Warrington fight that you were talking about. He looked very, very, very human in
if we get that Lara, if he gives Wood that opportunity, then
Wood will knock him out.
Oh, it's what a night for Wood. That turns out to be.
And I really hope that Warrington.
I think we get a better Lara than that, though.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I really hope that Warrington fight happens, because for Warrington, I don't want to see him go out like this. I don't think he's got any intention of packing it in just yet.
No.
Yeah, but Warrington, I don't want to see him go out.
They're still convinced they won the fight, see?
Exactly.
The last fight, so they'll keep going, I guess. And listen, as long as he's okay, you've got no injuries, and as long as he's not taking loads of punches and damage. Again, my biggest worry for all these boxers now, the training's better and the equipment's better, so there's more longevity in the sport. But that's a bigger problem, I feel, because then you're boxing into your more of your later life, which means the with boxing which never gets spoken about is the effects once you retire.
Yeah, and we're still not
In
at the
all
stage
sport-
where we've
in all
caught up
sports.
with the advancements where we can see 20 years down the line yet.
No, we can't. No, not from.
That's what I mean
Not
from
from
this
no,
point.
But we can see 20 years down the line from boxers when I was boxing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like
that's
half the
what
people I
point was
box with
making.
now, like I am literally, this puts it into perspective, intelligent compared to most of the boxers I boxed in my generation. They're so worried about that for a second. Then that's digest.
And you were forced to stop before you wanted to.
Oh, okay, so I'm not then. I'm not. So it's just I had stopped young. Yeah, I stopped young. Maybe if I went on to my late 20s, I was 25 when I was or 30. I was 32 at my age, when I was boxing.
Yeah, it was ancient.
Was
yeah.
a veteran, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, I do think though that Ben Davison, because he said that Lara makes loads of mistakes. I think that's
He did, yeah.
sort of, and he's right. I think they want to be catching and countering. Whew.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
I know, and he's quite a cautious-minded trainer anyway, isn't he, Ben Davison? Which I quite like, actually. It's more to my ilk of way of thinking of fighting, but I think he'll want Leigh Wood to take his time a bit more. But I don't think Leigh Wood will want to, so I think there's going to be a conflict there between what Leigh Wood wants to do naturally, but what he's been told to do instruction-wise. He listened to instructions perfectly in the Kanzu fight, so he'll believe in Ben Davison. But in this sort of fight, will he be thinking, I don't want to be like, because you can get knocked out any time against the Lara, let's be honest. So do I do the right thing? Well, I think what I've been told is the right thing, if I think what they're going to do. And what if you get knocked out and do nothing? Do you know
That's
what I
always
mean?
a fear, isn't it?
And do I go for it and get knocked out in 2 rounds, or do I not go for it and get knocked out in 6 rounds? And they go, well, you didn't do anything. We had a plan for him to make a mistake. He never made that fucking mistake. It's that sort of thing. But I think Leigh Wood, in the end of the day, your natural instinct will take over everything.
Yeah, I always believe that too.
Especially when you're in a firefight, which I think Lara will force onto him. So I almost think that's going to happen. Inevitably, that's going to happen anyway. And Wood's natural instinct is to fire back, I feel. So just get on him. Let him react to you. I would say that. Try and take the initiative early. There's a risk. It's easy for me to say that. I kind of when I'm walking and taking the punches. There's a risk to that. But if you've got power, have I said this before? Make him fucking feel it early. Do it, innit? Give it to him. Because he's been hurt. He's not indestructible. Not indestructible. Neither are you, by the way. You're probably more vulnerable than him.
And he'll be well aware of that. And sort of the longer the fight goes, the more you open. You mentioned earlier about Lara, the fact that he carries his power, and that accumulative factor as well that he showed against Warrington. He hurt Warrington earlier, and he just got systematically.
I think that's
beat him up.
the interesting point you make about the role of the trainer there as well, though, because it's fine to have a plan of what you think your fighters should do, but you've always got to have it in your head of, by nature, what are they more likely to do? And you might have to compromise a bit on your plan, because in an ideal world, you'll box like this and he makes a lot of mistakes and that's how to beat him. But you need to know your guy and just think to yourself, but he's not going to do that, is he?
See, I think
so you get a bit of a hybrid, maybe.
I think with Davison, we'll do what would I perceive as the clever thing, really, and the cautiously clever thing to do. And solid jab. You can get him with a jab because there's a wide thing there. Step in, step out with it. Hit nice guard, stay low, pivot. I said pivot and Kazagi today. And move off, Jim, step, move. Change the angle all the time. When he jumps into the attack, then you get him. Take that little step inside the guard, and you've got him with a short left hook or an uppercut, or you can throw that right hand. You'll make a mistake, but force him with a good solid jab, force him to open up. And that's what he should do. But I just can't see it. I think Lara hits him with a big shot, and he goes, wow.
Yeah.
And then all of a
I
sudden
can do
you've
that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
What, you think you're in my city?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. That's exactly what I
Can
think.
that play against him? I mean, you mentioned earlier on, and I do agree that, obviously having home advantage and having the crowd behind you is one thing, but in a fight like this where it is so dangerous, can that work against you?
I do think it's what Lara will want him to do, but it doesn't mean that he can't still beat him doing it.
I don't think so. I think he'll know the danger of what Lara got. I think that would have been maybe the effect with Conlan. Was maybe that you could have said that because Conlan was going to dance him any tune round you, but he's never going to knock you out. That's what you would have felt on that night. So the crowd could have got to him there. Maybe it didn't, but it could have. But this fight, he knows he's got to be. I think he used the crowd the right way. I don't think he'll get over, unless he gets overawed by it. I don't think he'll be all over fired up by the crowd. Because he'll know he has to be 100% focused. I think the crowd can be a massive thing for you, but I think in a fight where you've got to go in a bit scared, I think almost everything half blurs out as well. You're aware of it, and it can lift you in times of peril and all the rest of it, and when, or whatever, or when you're buzzing, it gives you an extra lift to go that extra bit. But ultimately, you're in your own little thing. And when there's a massive fear factor, right, and against a big puncher, there's always that massive fear factor. Whoever you are, however good a chin you got, however brave you are. Carl Froch, you speak to Carl Froch, he was always aware that he could get hurt. He got hurt all the time. He sort of admits it now, but he just knew he could get up. He just knew or knew he could shake it off. That was his sort of superpower, really.
So over the years with Carl, sorry to interrupt. Over the years with Carl, it's become sort of, I don't know, people make out like he could never be hurt, or the only time that he was hurt was when he got dropped by George Groves. But he was hurt a fair few times in his career.
Brian McGee, Robin Reed hurt him, I think, didn't he?
That, and he's very open about it as well. That Bute fight.
Andre Darrell hurt him when they played.
That Bute fight. Well, and there are parallels between Wood, Lara, and Bute Froch. Although Bute was the champion, obviously, but he came over here with a massive reputation, and he hadn't been over previously like Lara had, but massive reputation, unbeaten. Big puncher, all the rest of it, and
good slick southpaw.
Exactly,
he was slick as well.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, and he didn't start great.
He wasn't Johnny Nelson slick southpaw.
He didn't start great, Froch, and he did get hurt early on. He said he'll happily admit it by I think it was a left to the body, like a southpaw left to the body, and he sat on his stool and he just thought to himself, "Fuck this! Like, if I'm going out swinging. I'm at home and I'm going to go out swinging." And then he just took him apart. Yeah.
Not much to shout about in the undercard, to be brutally honest. Dalton Smith makes a defence of the British super lightweight title against Billy Allington. Going to come to you first, Andy. From my perspective, that's not what I want to see for Dalton Smith for a British title defence. So put it out there. I think he's several levels above Billy Allington.
Yeah,
with all due respect.
Yeah, no, that's an accurate statement. I remember seeing Billy Allington box Daniel Egbenike for the Southern area. Lost that fight, good fight, and I remember coming away from that just thinking, he's a peacock fighter, dedicated fighter, that he would probably get that Southern area title and maybe be able to click up one to the English. Who knows? You never really know, but I thought to myself that's. That might be what he went on to do, and he's done that, and
he did,
and that's a tremendous achievement. It's a very, very good level, but I don't see any real prospect at all of him beating Dalton Smith, who is a strong British champion
and accurate.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
doesn't waste a shot. And I said, hand knife a bit. This boxing littered with like fairy tale stories of people who beat people beyond their level, and it is. But most of the time, the better fighter prevails.
Yeah.
And this is one of those. This is what am I ready to say? On paper, this is an easy fight for Dalton Smith.
It's a mismatch on paper. It is what it is.
He should do whatever he wants to do. I think it'll be down to how the fight goes, how tough Billy is.
Is this a mandatory or?
I
mean, he's English champion, so
he's English champion. You can't coming off the back of a draw.
Yeah.
To Ben Fields over 6 rounds.
When you're English champion, though, you deserve a British title shot. You could argue. Yeah. You could always argue that. It's the one down.
Would like to see him on the back of a win.
Oh, is it? Is it?
Well, the English title is literally one below the British.
He's going to talk about the Welsh title, man. We don't have time for this. Anyway,
that's disgusting. I think. What about the Scottish title? Why would the English title be just right below the?
Because there's a lot more people in England.
What? They don't make any bets. Don't mean all the bet. They might be all shit. I would argue that they're all shit. Every English fighter.
I'd argue that they're not.
Every English fighter ever boxes shit.
Stop swearing. You get us demonetised, Barry.
What's that? Bet responsibly.
Bet responsibly. Anyway, I don't foresee Dalton Smith having much problems with Billy Allington. I have to say, I expect Dalton Smith to win. And win quite well. Before we move on and talk about a few last little bits before we finish up here, Gary Cully returns on the undercard. I think Gary Cully is somebody who's getting a good little push behind him from Matchroom. Barry, going to come to you first. Fan of Gary Cully?
Yeah, I've covered most of his career, Gary. Good to watch. And he's not just tall and rangy. He's technically quite good as well. Got good feet, in and out with the feet, and he spins off. I'm not going to say the word, but he just but he got a wide stance. He's a big fella. He has a wide stance because he can afford to because he's still got the reach. But he spins off on a target. So when he throws his shots, you're throwing threes, and then you move off, and then it's very hard to fire back against him. Or he'll take that big step back and come straight back into you with another combination. So he gets all this praise for his power, and I don't think he's a bigger puncher than what people say he is. I think because he does that little step off and step back, I think you come at him and he meets you in the middle with the shot. I think there's a bit. I might be wrong, but I think he uses you against yourself and gets you with a little step back because he's so wide stance, he's so big. Gets away with it, and he turns from the core quite well. And then you got those long arms, and you get the whip with the shot. Then so he uses his body for all the weight, but has a long reach then, and it's like you should do with a punch, and it whips in, and they got speed on it. He's a good fighter. He is. He's good to watch.
Big fan of Gary Cully, Andy?
I haven't seen that much of him, but I know a bit about his background, and he's a well-schooled fighter with some good natural tools, like Barry was just saying there. And I wonder how quickly you can kind of move him, because I think he's going to be difficult for anybody. I think he's that kind of fighter where moving him up levels, he might do better than people think.
Yeah, well, he's 6 foot. He's 6 foot.
He's tall. I don't know how tall he is. You can't really go on BoxRec nowadays because
He's tall.
I think they should make it up as they go along.
And I can't judge because everyone's tall.
But he's a big lightweight. He's a very tall lightweight. I know there was some sort of discussions around him versus Maxi Hughes. Obviously another lightweight, the IBO champion, Maxi Hughes.
That's a nightmare for Maxi Hughes.
I wouldn't be mad keen on that if I was Team Hughes.
No, if you're Maxi Hughes, you want to be looking up. With all due respect to Gary Cully, he's
those fast feet as well.
You're giving him an opportunity.
Yeah, very much so. And when you're Maxi Hughes and you've had to work as hard as he's had to work to get to the position that he's in, you probably look at somebody like Gary Cully and think, yeah, maybe not.
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, I do like Gary Cully. Right, we are going to move ahead and talk about a fight that was recently announced. Anthony Joshua returns to the ring, not on pay-per-view-ish, against Jermaine Franklin on April the 1st. No, it's not pay-per-view, just W-sub. But
£2 extra.
There we go. Anyway, it's probably one for another podcast. Joe Markowski, you're welcome anytime. Posh Joe, you can come and sit down. Posh Joe, he's really posh. If
he is posh.
Very posh. Yeah. Joe Markowski.
Boss of the channel.
I wonder why Barry Jones has been pulled off the zone stuff recently. He doesn't even know who's paying him. But anyway. Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin. Barry, going to come to you first. A safe comeback fight for Anthony Joshua?
Relatively, I think, yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. When it's a guy who we've seen who gave Dillian White a good test, an hard fight. So there's nothing wrong with that. And the problem you got to get is that he's coming off a loss. But so is Joshua. I think once you have the best fighter on the planet in the division, defend his world title against Derek Chisora, then you can cry and scream about a guy who's not top 3 anymore boxing Jermaine Franklin in a non-title fight. You just can't. I mean, you can complain about both. I understand that. But I mean, if he's allowed to do it, the king of the world, then Joshua, who's no longer the king of the world, who cares? I think he needs to build in rebuild fight. You put a new train, it's a new start, and someone says it's not a new start. I put it on Twitter, it's a new start for him, someone says it's not. It is, he's with a new guy, a new trainer, and he's coming off 2 losses. And 2 clear losses, by the way. And the second one, he was better, he was a better fighter and got beat easier, I felt. And that's horrible. How would you come back from that? Because you can't figure out what we've seen in Meltdown, didn't we? He couldn't figure it out. He let us all know about 5 seconds later. But he couldn't understand why he got beat. And that, I think that's so he needs a proper rebuild. And I think Franklin will pose a few problems for him. But I think stylistically, it's a fight that I think he can also knock out. And I think he needs that. He needs to remember that he wasn't this destroyer. I sort of said that he was this animal, and then I had to do the commentary on when the zone when he signed with his own, all the commentary was Sky commentary. No one listens to that shit. So
I wasn't doing it. So wait, what?
But no, to be fair, we did it. It was like Sky billboards everywhere, like, and you couldn't hide from it. But we had to me and Mike Costello did the commentary for most of his fights, most of the other fights. And you remember, actually, he always kept his shape. He was never this man just run through people like a lunatic.
We spoke with the last time we were in here was when we did the preview show for the Usyk rematch. We kind of spoke about it then. Whenever we were saying about, he needs to go in there, be the old AJ, and stick it on him. Actually, the evidence isn't really there to suggest that he's ever been that far.
But what he did though is when he had an instinct that when he hit you with a good shot, he didn't think about
he could go through the gears.
No.
It's exactly what you were talking about earlier when we were talking about confidence, where confidence is your conviction. That's exactly what it is. Like, since Ruiz, maybe the conviction just hasn't really been there. Because he was never this kind of warmonger, but what he did have was conviction. He would step in and he would hit you, and if he saw that you were hurt, he would finish you off.
He's been hurt. Like, Dillian White, just go back to that. It was a fleeting moment. But he's been hurt in other fights as an amateur, so he knows what it's like to be hurt. But his natural instinct was to fire back. Because he had the confidence. And if it don't matter if I'm hurt, if I hit you, and then that pain goes in. Because when you see someone hurt, you're just thinking about that. That disappears, and you're panic or worry about being hurt. But when it all unravelled for him in the Ruiz, the first fight, I think ever since then he's been afraid to get hit.
Yeah,
understandable, but not in that division more than any division. It's not. No, you don't want to take any punches. But I mean, if you're a guy who's an ABC type of boxer, which he is, which is very effective at that weight more than any other. If you're afraid of punches coming your way, you can be effective. You just cannot. You see how Tyson Fury, he's so effective because he doesn't fear the punches coming his way. He evades most of them, but he takes a shot and he makes mistakes, but he knows he can get back up and he can be hurt. He knows he can be hurt. Like Carl Froch, we spoke about Carl Froch to me earlier. He knew he could be hurt, but he had the confidence enough to. Now, if you haven't got that chin, which Joshua hasn't, maybe, but he still has to believe in what he does is right. If he, everything's solid jab, commit to the punch, don't tap with that jab. He used to always. He had lovely rhythms with Joshua in his career. He bounced a little bounce to his step, but he would when in the forward bounce, he would step in with the jab. He would get the rhythm right. It's proper like GB stuff, Richie Woodall stuff actually, just to be honest. And bam, and you'd feel the jab straight away. And then you as an opponent go, oh, I can't fire off that. When he's tipping in with the jab, trying to be a bit cleverer and set you up with it, you can work off that because that doesn't hurt you. It's just what's shit.
I think the first time we saw that was the Povetkin fight. Do you remember the Povetkin fight when he was he started on the back foot? And that was the first time we'd really seen that type of iteration of Joshua. And the Ruiz fight was the fight after that, and then obviously everything kind of changed after that.
But you're trying to reinvent yourself. I think you want to fight. I've said this a million times already. Like, you're trying to get a fighter. You want the perfect fighter, don't you? So once even when you're winning, you're going, right, what do we do bad, or what do we don't do, or what can we do better? And you try and get that. But I always say this, and it was the Josh Taylor fight as well that happened. If you've got to take away something that they're good at, great at, to add something else, which they might be great at, don't do it.
Don't do it. I couldn't agree more with that.
Don't take anything you're good at.
Yeah.
Accentuate what you're good at.
If you can add on to it, I remember I said this about CrossFit when all that came into boxing years and years ago. I said, if that helps, if you can add that onto your boxing training, add it. If it takes away any bit of the core boxing stuff, you can't use it.
Yeah.
Because what works for you. What you're good at is what you're good at. But you should be adding to yourself all the time. You've got to always try and bet yourself. But they try to reinvent Joshua over periods of time. I think it wasn't just a quick one, but then it took away his thought. What they did, they opened his mind and he was
doubts coming.
But they always said
comes in.
He takes instruction, great, Joshua. He's praised for that, which is really good for a trainer to have a guy who just does what he's told. And that's brilliant. And a guy who's quite athletic. We forget that. And trains hard. And so if he listens to you, you got great to work with.
But how clear has the messaging been? That's the problem.
No, but I think they've opened up his mind. I think
certainly in recent times.
Yeah, they've opened up his mind, and made him more of a thinking fighter. But being a thinking fighter, you see caution more than you should.
Yeah, it models you.
Yeah,
it models you.
Lennox Lewis was in some stinkers of fights early in his career. He blasted loads of people out there, but some fights he was in some stinkers because he had a great boxing brain. Sugar Ray Leonard, great boxing brains, but then what made him great in the end Leonard was great. Leonard was great from the very beginning. But I mean, what made Lennox Lewis great in the end is he knew when to switch his brain off. It's as crazy as it sounds. He knew when to think and when to do it. And that's like me. I had a good boxing brain. Physically I couldn't do shit, but I think too much, and that's why I didn't hurt anybody. That's why I did not stop anybody. Oh, God, I couldn't punch. We can all fucking punch to an extent, but I mean, I just would think about what I was doing next. And you could overthink stuff. And I think Joshua overthinks stuff now and then it opens his brain now. So when he gets hit now, he don't think, oh, I got to fire back like he used to. He thinks, oh, that's wrong. When I get hit, there's someone who thinks when you get hit, it's alarm bells. Fucking get out of there, cover it up. You save yourself first, and that's what. And you see that. You've seen that in the Pulev fight clearly.
Yeah.
No, I think, and the second Ruiz fight more so. He boxed really well, but you could just see he did everything he could to avoid getting hit.
Yeah, and responding to that
It sounds
defeat.
madness because you should do.
But I was, I think there's a kind of useful comparison to be drawn between him and Wilder and how they've responded to defeats, because Joshua has responded how he's responded. It's put lots of doubts in his mind. How do I do this? Should I do it differently? Wilder got absolutely smashed to pieces by Fury in that second fight. Took him to arbitration to get the third fight, and then seemingly wasn't really any different.
Yeah, he just shut everything off, didn't he?
Yeah.
He just completely disregarded. You talk about opening it up.
And then really did go out on his shield. I mean, he
Wilder was
just
better
kept
in the third fight than the first two, I thought.
And that was just so impressive, that the mental scarring that must have been there. I know he had a long time to kind of get over it, if you like, but he also had a really long time to think about it. But he came out for that third fight and he was still like he's always been.
Even more so, more fearless than he was before.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, to be able to do that.
But
And it was before
Joshua is still a good fighter.
Yeah, of course.
He's still a good fighter. He can still be a force. I don't think he ever beats Usyk. I don't think he beats Fury. And he might not beat Joe Joyce. And he might never win the world title again. But he's capable of doing that. I don't think he's capable of beating them two ever. But the others there. And I think he's a good fighter. Can still be good. And hasn't been terrible, actually.
No.
He hasn't been terrible at all. He got caught. He's a heavyweight. He got caught by Ruiz and unravelled, and and then went back and beat him, and then beat Pulev, who was at the time was top 10 in the world, and then lost to a genius in Alexander Usyk twice. Yeah. So it's not on paper. When you look at it on paper, it isn't that bad.
No, exactly.
It's just I think we thought I think the way he's acted over the years, I think he's got criticism for that, but he's still a good fighter, and this is the right fight for him, and and I think it's the perfect fight for him. And it's not adverse of risk, but it's also he hasn't gone in against Wilder. He'd be an idiot to go in against Wilder or something like that. It would have been a suicide job, literally career suicide.
Well, you'd be handing them a massive advantage, taking them on off the back of two defeats.
You need the confidence building fights.
Yeah,
I mean, you go through history of all especially heavyweights. Oh, they rebuild after defeats. They very rarely go back in like he did. And the rematch clauses ruin you. I'm not going to go into that, but I mean, I think it's a good fight. It's the right fight for him.
Okay, cool. Right,
well worth an extra £2 a month.
There we go. If you pay all up front, that is about all we've got time for. Just before we wrap up, we've got about 5 minutes or so. So, we wanted to talk about something that was terrible. I'm generally quite bad at doing things like this, as you guys will attest to. The boxing media world, or the journalism world, whatever you want to call it, we were all saddened at the very sudden passing of our colleague and friend Ron Lewis, who passed away on Friday, the day after the Joshua Franklin press conference, as it would happen. Family man, journalist. Our thoughts obviously go out to his wife Ellie and his children Stanley and Polly. Shocking. I don't think anybody was prepared for it. Spoke to you, Andy, on the day where it happened, and it was just awful. I know that you guys would have known Ron, and of course Box Nation years and Boxing Matters, and what a brilliant journalist he was, and what a one of the good guys, and a real awful thing to have happened. I
say one of the good guys. I think, and a proper journalist, by the way. Don't take this.
No, I completely agree.
I don't mean that. I don't mean that.
No,
things have changed. I mean, he was and there's very few left of him, to be honest. But he would never. And someone put this. I'm nicking someone else's words. It might be in yours, actually, I don't know, but he never didn't care what side of the street the fighter was. He gave his honest account of what he saw, always, his opinions. I think that, and in this climate of having to pony up and side up to promoters to get access, he stuck to, and it's very difficult to do, he stuck to himself. And also, he he wasn't the life and soul of a party. He's not reinvented who he is, but he was good company.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Really good
was.
company,
Yeah.
actually, and funnier than what he first.
Very dry sense.
When he first come to, and I really liked it. I sort of met him first time really Box Nation, about 2013, 12 maybe, and I always enjoyed his company, and for one of the few people who I would listen to.
Yeah, same.
For their opinion about fighters.
Same.
And styles.
You knew that he knew, like he watched loads
Yeah.
of fights. He'd been at loads of fights, amateur and pro. You know, he wasn't just reading something that somebody else had said and thinking, "Oh, that sounds clever. I'll say that." It was proper organic thought, and he was really good company. You know, I always really enjoyed seeing him, and it's. I know I saw him at Baturbiev Yard that week. Spent quite a lot of time with him that week because you know how much hanging around there is at press stuff, and chatting to him about his lad Stanley and his cricket. You know, he's a talented young cricketer, and how excited he was about that, and you know, things like that. When you think back to your most recent conversations, it really hits home to you just how awful this is because of the people who get left behind. And I know that a lot of the guys found it really hard to process last week because a lot of you had seen him.
Yeah,
I hadn't, and but I can appreciate if you had it. But that can't have happened because I saw him yesterday. Now there's no logic to that, but the whole thing just seems so totally, you know, the unthinkable and the impossible. Sadly, are not the same thing.
I'm shocked how much it affected me actually.
Yeah, I was.
I wasn't best friends with him, and I very rarely saw him. But I very rarely go to press conferences or anything like that. When I do, I stand in the back of the room. I never go really front and centre, but I'll sort of levitate the people like him or you. It's very rare. I don't speak to a lot of people, and he'd be one of them. The few I would.
Yeah.
But like again, I wasn't with him all the time, like you might have been, and so like I was shocked how much it affected me. Actually, I thought this.
Yeah, I was the same, and I suspected that I was probably going to have to do something on Sky. I didn't really know what it would be, and then
you all did a really good job.
I was pleased when I discovered that I was going to get to do it. So you have a little rehearsal and things like that, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm not totally sure what's going to happen here when it actually comes around. I'm not claiming we were best pals, but it's someone you see and someone you like.
and I think you hit the nail on the head there, and it was a proper boxing bloke. It was just somebody who really had the best interest of the sport.
Yeah, he really cared about the sport.
and when you lose, so he was a kind of term thrown away. He was a real one, Ron.
Yeah,
and he really was somebody who you knew where you stood with him. You knew what his thoughts were on things. He was uncompromisingly honest.
Yeah,
and it was a.
You said it already, like, and I think I tweeted out, and a lot of people tweeted out the same thing. This is, and like, he was one of the good ones. That's it, isn't it? In just in general, like one of the good ones.
all round.
Didn't have to wear silly clothes or jump around like an idiot, like we all do, trying to make a living. Didn't do anything extravagant. Just one of the good guys, like, and that's and it's a shit world, isn't it? That's the truth of it, like.
But yeah, our thoughts and condolences go out to his wife Ellie and his son Stanley and daughter Polly at this terrible time. That's enough from us. So thanks very much for watching us on the ID Boxing Show, and we'll catch up with you next time.